Hi, this is Greg Thomas, and welcome to the Welsh American Channel. Americans of Welsh descent had a profound influence leading up to the American Revolution, including authorship of the Declaration of Independence by Thomas Jefferson and the large number of Welsh Americans who signed the Declaration. Eventually, negotiations between the American patriots and the British broke down and a Revolutionary War was declared. Once again, several Welsh Americans stepped up to the plate. Some became leading military leaders during the war. In this video, we will focus on a notable Welsh American commander. He was General John Cadwallader. John Cadwallader was born in Trenton, New Jersey, of Quaker religious heritage. He was the eldest son of Thomas Cadwallader and his wife Hannah Lambert. John's paternal grandparents were both Welsh. Grandfather John Cadwallader and grandmother Martha Jones Cadwallader originally came from Bala, Wales, and emigrated to the province of Pennsylvania in British America in 1697, seeking a place to practice their Quaker faith. Bala is a historic market town in the Snowdonia National Park in Gwynedd, North Wales. To learn more about the early Welsh migrations to the Welsh tract of Pennsylvania, please watch our Early Welsh Settlers playlist. Bala is also the birthplace of Michael Daniel Jones, a founder of the Welsh settlement in Patagonia, and one of the fathers of modern Welsh nationalism. Cadwallader attended the Academy and College of Philadelphia from 1751 to 1758. He did not finish his education but left school early to go into business with his brother Lambert. Together, they became importers of dry goods. The brothers found financial success with their business and were able to establish very comfortable lives. Throughout his life, Cadwallader was known as a fashionable man, having the latest in expensive clothing and home furnishings. On September 25, 1768, John married Elizabeth Betsy Lloyd. The Lloyds were another prominent Welsh American family in Maryland. Also in 1768, Cadwallader was elected to the American Philosophical Society. John's father-in-law, Colonel Lloyd, brought him to Virginia in August of 1769 to meet George Washington. They began a long-lasting friendship of mutual respect. Cadwallader was committed to the independence of the colonies, for as a merchant, he had grown frustrated with the taxes put on the colonies by the British government. By October of 1774, John's involvement in the upcoming revolution became so deeply rooted that he had organized a militia group of 84 volunteers into what was called the Silk Stocking Company because of their genteel appearance. Cadwallader trained them at his very own home in Philadelphia. He became further involved in the Revolution after the Battle of Lexington spread in April of 1775. He stepped up as colonel of the 3rd Battalion of the Philadelphia Association of Volunteers. Sadly, his wife Elizabeth died due to complications after giving birth to the couple's third daughter in 1776. Also in 1776, Colonel John Cadwallader was elected senior officer of the Philadelphia Associators of Volunteer Militia founded by Benjamin Franklin in 1747. Cadwallader was first appointed as a colonel and then promoted to brigadier general. He was put in command of Pennsylvania's troops during the winter campaign of 1776 and 1777. His command reinforced the Continental Army led by General George Washington during the winter of 76 and 77. By December, Cadwallader and the Associators were positioned about 10 miles south of Trenton, New Jersey, on the west side of the Delaware River in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, at the ferry between Bristol, Pennsylvania, and Burlington, New Jersey. Cadwallader had received orders to send his column across the river on the night of December 25th and 26th and march toward Trenton from the south. Meanwhile, George Washington's column would cross the river to the north of Trenton and attack the city from that direction. After successfully crossing with his light forces, Cadwalader discovered that river ice prevented crossing his heavier artillery due to the rough winter conditions in New Jersey. He then returned his column to the Pennsylvania side, leaving Washington's forces unsupported in New Jersey. However, it was very fortunate for Washington that the Hessian column, having marched from their garrison in Bordentown to Mount Holly, where they were engaged in the Battle of Ironworks Hill, were no longer in a position to defend Trenton. Washington was successful in his surprise attack on the morning of December 26th against the Hessian garrison in Trenton. 2/3 of the dazed and tired German mercenaries were captured. Cadwalader and his column did cross the river the next day. John Cadwallader subsequently took part in the further actions in New Jersey. He reaffirmed his worth as a leader a week later at the Battle of Princeton on January 3, 1777. Remaining on the New Jersey side of the Delaware River, he gathered information on the whereabouts of the British troops and their essential supplies. Cadwalader then provided Washington with a detailed map based on his findings. He led the Philadelphia militia into the battle, and his map and battle plans were critical to securing a victory for Washington and the Continental Army. Washington requested Congress to appoint Cadwalader as an officer to the Continental Army, describing him as, quote, a man of ability, a good disciplinarian, firm in his principles, and of intrepid bravery, end of quote. So in early 1777, impressed with his role in the Battle of Princeton, the Continental Congress offered Cadwalader an appointment as Brigadier General of the Continental Army. Cadwalader respectfully declined the appointment. This decision prompted a letter from George Washington urging Cadwalader to reconsider, but he was determined. Cadwalader declined because he wanted to remain in the provincial service with the Pennsylvania militia. Cadwalader often included concerns about the morale of both the troops and locals in his letters to Washington. Before the infamous winter of 1777 and 78 at Valley Forge, Cadwalader urged Washington to avoid retiring the troops to winter quarters and to instead stage another winter campaign. He argued that while soldiers might immediately be disheartened by a winter campaign, the likely victories that could ensue from a surprise winter attack on the British would provide a much-needed morale boost to the Continental Army. Cadwalader also feared there would be a significant shortage of provisions if the army were to remain in one location. Unfortunately, he was right, and his fears were realized. The men suffered tremendously while at winter quarters at Valley Forge that year. In early 1778, Congress voted to appoint Cadwalader as a general of the cavalry. Even though the vote was unanimous, he declined again because he felt he would be more useful to the cause leading the Pennsylvania military forces. Cadwalader fought a duel with Thomas Conway in 1778. Conway had previously left the French army and served as a major general in the American Continental Army during the American Revolutionary War. Conway actively lobbied Congress for a promotion that Washington vigorously opposed. Eventually, he was given the promotion, but became involved in the infamous Conway Cabal, along with Horatio Gates and others. The Conway Cabal was a group of senior Continental Army officers in late 1777 and early 1778 who aimed to have George Washington replaced as Commander-in-Chief of the Army during the American Revolutionary War. The incident was named after Conway himself, whose letters criticizing Washington were forwarded to the Second Continental Congress. Part of the letter stated, quote, "Heaven has been determined to save your country, or a weak general and bad counselors would have ruined it. The weak general he refers to in the letter is George Washington. When the letters were made public, supporters of Washington mobilized to assist him politically, including John Cadwalader. Conway ended up resigning from the Army, and General Horatio Gates, a leading candidate to replace Washington, issued an apology for his role in events. However, soon after the Conway cabal, Cadwalader questioned Conway's courage at the Battle of Germantown. The battle occurred on October 4th, 1777, and was an American defeat. Conway and Cadwalader fought a duel in 1788. According to witnesses, the parties having declared themselves ready, the word was given to proceed. As eyewitnesses wrote, General Conway immediately raised his pistol and fired with great composure but without hitting Cadwalader. Then General Cadwallader was about to raise his arm and fire when a sudden gust of wind occurred. He kept his pistol down and remained tranquil. "Why do you not fire, General Cadwallader?" exclaimed Conway. "Because," replied General Cadwallader, "we came here not to trifle. Let the gale pass and I shall act my part." Conway replied, "You shall have a fair chance at performing it well." And he immediately presented the full front of his body as a target. General Cadwallader fired, and his ball entered the mouth of Conway, and he fell directly forward on his face. The gun ball had passed through his head, but did not inflict a mortal wound. Supposedly, Cadwallader stated, quote, "I have stopped that damn rascal's lying anyway," end of quote, as he stood over the bleeding Conway. As soon as the blood was sufficiently washed away to allow him to speak, General Conway, turning to his opponent, said good-humoredly, "You fired, General, with much deliberation and certainly with a great deal of effect," end of quote. The witnesses stated that the two men then parted, free from all resentment. Thinking he was dying, Conway wrote a letter of apology to George Washington, but he survived his wounds and eventually returned to France. Cadwallader left active duty early in the war, but remained in correspondence with Washington as a military advisor for the remainder of the war. Washington once referred to Cadwallader as, quote, "a military genius of a decisive and independent spirit, properly impressed with the necessity of order and discipline and of sufficient vigor to enforce it," end of quote. Cadwallader also participated in the Battle of Monmouth and saw action in other battles during the remainder of the war. Throughout the conflict, he consistently received thanks from Washington for his efforts. In 1779, after retiring from the military, Cadwallader became a trustee of the University of Pennsylvania and returned to his estate on the banks of the Sassafras River at Shrewsbury, Kent County, Maryland. He became a member of the Maryland State Assembly and served for 3 terms. Also, in 1779, the widower Cadwallader remarried Wilhelmina Bond, and together they had 3 additional children. Cadwallader's life was brilliant, but short. An old Welsh saying, when translated into English, goes something like this: "Everything you have in this world is just borrowed for a short time." That's true of Cadwallader's life. In 1786, John Cadwallader died at the age of 44 of pneumonia. Cadwallader was widely admired even by his political opponents, who joined in lamenting his early death. Thomas Paine praised Cadwallader's virtues as both a patriot and a soldier, words that are carved into Cadwallader's tombstone in Shrewsbury, Maryland. Thomas Paine wrote his epitaph, quote, "His early and inflexible patriotism will endure his memory to all true friends of the American Revolution. It may be with strictest justice be said of him that he possessed a heart incapable of deceiving. His manners were formed on the nicest sense of honor, and the whole tenor of his life was governed by this principle. The companions of his youth were the companions of his manhood. He never lost a friend by insincerity, nor made one by deception. His domestic virtues were truly exemplary, and while they served to endure the remembrances, they embitter the loss of him to all his numerous friends and connections." End of quote. General John Cadwallader, a successful military leader of Welsh descent, served his nation with honor and commitment. Like many revolutionaries, he is mostly forgotten by today's generation. But recorded history will never forget his legacy and bravery. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel or give us a like, and please feel free to make any comments below. If you would like to see more biographies of leading Welsh Americans, give us a like. And if you have an individual you would like us to showcase, let me know in the comments below. This is Greg Thomas saying Hwyl am nawr, bye for now.